Shalom. First of all, I'd like to start off by giving all glory and honor to Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua by Hashem Rakakdash. Double honor to teachers, elders, and also great millstone. Likewise, brothers, put out this truth. Faithfully, fearlessly feeding the sheep and do brothers and sisters tuning in. Shalom. Today's lesson title, Watchman Report. Now, I didn't really actually have a title, so I named it Watchman Report because in this lesson, I have a couple clips I'm going to show you. Okay, and as you can see here, it's going to be in regards to this news article here with this tuberculosis cases that's starting to manifest at these detention facility, okay, and the ongoing abuse, okay, that's taking place, okay. In the meantime, our people are falling for Esau's, okay, diversions, his diversionary tactics, okay. Us last night, you had the Super Bowl Sunday, and they had the Latino, slash Hispanic entertainer, Bad Bunny, doing the halftime show. And you can see, what does it say here? We have a voice. Latinos celebrate Bad Bunny's Super Bowl halftime show. So, this is another, distracting tactic that Esau used. He employs it here in Great Babylon, America. We know you have Black History Month, okay, and a lot of events that's taking place, So, they're being very inclusive this time with the Latinos and having their moment, to shine, and of course, you have the so-called Black History Month, and of course, when you take a look at this picture here, what does it read here? It says, from slavery to the White House, Black History 2026, and it shows this faggot Obama, okay, and the other ones there. I mean, they have nothing to do, okay, with the children of Israel, so-called blacks, Native Americans, and Latinos. But hey, Jake's them, they're going to believe what they see. Okay, let's go into the book of Ezekiel 33, and starting with verse 7, it says, so thou, O son of man, I have set thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore thou shalt hear the word of my mouth, and warn them for me. When I say unto the wicked, O wicked man, thou shalt surely die, if thou does not speak to warn the wicked from his way. That wicked man shall die in his iniquity, but his blood will I require at thy hand. So this is our job. Our job is to bring out the news that nobody wants to hear. Okay, and you saw in that opening, AGI clip that I created. Okay, it shows Jake them in these internment camps suffering. Because a lot of people believe that when they go to these detention center, if they picked up, somehow they still have rights. They're still gonna have 3 meals to eat a day. It's gonna be humane treatment. They're gonna have a nice soft bed to sleep on, TV to watch. That their enemy, Esau the Edomites, the so-called white man, actually cares for their well-being. They're not understanding we are in a time of Jacob's trouble, okay, which is warfare, okay, between the two tribes, okay. Continuing on, it says, nevertheless, if thou warn the wicked of his way, to turn from it, if he do not turn from his way, he shall die in his iniquity, but thou hast delivered thy soul. So you can imagine, the amount of pork tacos and shrimp tacos I was eating yesterday, barbecue pork chop, all kinds of, abomination, people getting drunk, they're doing drugs, they commit adultery, okay, they're celebrating idols, all these things are part of that, murk that's continuing on here, because the Lord Yahweh Shemashah is not bringing the judgment all at once. See, Jake's them don't really take anything serious until everything falls on them. And that's going to happen when those nukes hit this place and turn this place into the lake of fire. Once they realize that, oh, we see how this actually is taking place. Okay, but for now, okay, they ignore the warning that's coming from the prophet. Okay, so I'm going to play this short clip here. And what you're going to see here, okay, is the abuse that's taking place in these detention centers. And we talk about this, okay, we've been speaking about it for years, okay, and also following it, you're going to see a tuberculosis video showcasing or explaining how tuberculosis, okay, is spread. Okay.
Scripps News was on the ground this fall in El Paso, Texas, at an immigration detention center known as Lone Star Lockup. We found problems there, and now there are new reports of trouble, claims of excessive force, including beatings and sexual abuse. Immigrants locked up at a privately run detention center on the Fort Bliss Army base in Texas are reporting physical abuse by guards, saying they've been slammed to the ground, punched, and stomped on. Their claims are in declarations filed with the ACLU, part of an investigation including interviews with 45 detainees.
These are real human beings who have expressed to us that they are experiencing severe mistreatment at this detention center, that their basic needs are not being met.
Detainees use diagrams of bodies to mark injuries they say they suffered from excessive force. In one case, officers are accused of blocking a security camera before violently grabbing a 19-year-old's groin and beating him. My consciousness faded in the medical tent, the man said in a written declaration. When I regained consciousness, I was in an ambulance on the way to the hospital.
There are many accounts of people who experienced these beatings while already being restrained and in handcuffs.
Detainees also said people don't seem to be getting the medical care they need. One man, a senior, allegedly left on the ground in a puddle of his own blood after fainting. The guards left the man's meal on his bed, a detainee said. These new claims add to a Scripps News investigation in October that found reports of expired food, undrinkable water, leaking bunk rooms, and lack of access to attorneys. We discovered a hastily built tent city run by a private company based out of a home in Virginia that got a $1.2 billion government contract. We also found a network of for-profit subcontractors that have not been publicly identified. Do you know who is responsible for these allegations of abuse? Is it these subcontractors or is it ICE?
This goes back to the lack of transparency at this detention center, and that's a problem that we run into over and over, and makes it really hard to answer that question.
The Department of Homeland Security did not respond to our inquiries about conditions at the detention center, but told us this is fear-mongering clickbait. Any claim that there are inhumane conditions at ICE detention centers are categorically false. No detainees are being beaten or abused. Instead of answering calls to close this detention center, known as Camp East Montana, more immigrants are being sent here to what has become one of the largest ICE lockups in the country. Adding to the scrutiny of this camp is the recent death of a 48-year-old Guatemalan detainee. After spending 2 months in the camp, he was sent to the hospital where DHS says he died of natural liver and kidney failure. Patrick Terpstra at Scripps News Group, Washington.
Have you ever wondered how easily tiny invisible particles can travel through the air, especially in a crowded space? Just one cough or sneeze can send them floating, creating a ripple effect. This is particularly relevant when we think about how certain infections spread among people who live or work closely together. Overcrowding significantly increases the risk of tuberculosis, or TB, transmission. When many individuals share a small or poorly ventilated area, the chances of airborne bacteria passing from an infected person to others rises dramatically. The core reason behind this heightened risk is how tuberculosis spreads. TB is caused by a bacterium called Mycobacterium tuberculosis, which primarily travels through the air when a person with active lung TB coughs, sneezes, or even speaks.
Today, tuberculosis, or TB, is still one of the world's biggest infectious killers, causing more deaths than malaria or even HIV and AIDS. But what exactly is this disease, and how has this pathogen persisted for so long? Typically, TB bacteria, called Mycobacterium tuberculosis, are airborne. They travel into our airways and infect our lungs. Here, immune cells called macrophages rush to the infection site, attempting to absorb and break down the bacterial invaders. In many cases, this response is enough to remove the bacteria, but in individuals with other medical conditions, ranging from malnutrition and HIV to diabetes and pregnancy, the immune response may not be strong enough to destroy the intruder. If so, Mycobacterium tuberculosis will reproduce inside those macrophages and form colonies in the surrounding lung tissue. As they infect more cells, the bacteria employ cell-degrading enzymes that destroy the infected tissue, triggering chest pain and causing patients to cough up blood. The damage to the lungs leads to oxygen deprivation. This begins a flood of hormonal changes, including a decrease in appetite and iron production. From here, microbes can spread to the skeletal system, causing back pain and difficulty moving, to the kidneys and intestines, causing abdominal pain, and to the brain, causing headaches and even impaired consciousness. These symptoms produce the classic image of TB: weight loss, a hacking bloody cough, and ashen skin. This ghostly appearance earned TB the title of the White Plague in Victorian-era England.
So Esau has come up with a way that, overcrowding Jake's, in these facilities, if he doesn't directly just use a sword on you, he's going to use the disease. And as you saw in that video, tuberculosis is actually called the White Plague. Now, isn't that something? It's known as the White Plague. And we see, if this is taking place right now, as they are building, or buying up, because they really need to make this thing happen quick. So they don't even have the time, or they're not really putting much time into actually building, these detention centers. They're just simply buying a lot of these already built warehouses, or they're taking these closed down, superstores and converting them into detention center. But I thought they're supposed to be, basically supposed to be sending Jakes away, or sending so-called illegals, away, deporting. So why are you building more and more detention centers? Let's go into 1 Peter 3, verse 12. It reads, "For the eyes of the Lord are over the righteous, and his ear are open to their prayer, but the face of the Lord is against them that do evil." So, Jake, if you do evil, the Lord is going to have his face against you. Clearly, he has a face against Esau, the Edomite, the so-called white man, and these other tribes, but in particular, Esau, the Edomite, the so-called white man. But in regards to his chosen people, if you continue to do evil, he's not going to hear your prayer. He's not going to be there, when you need him the most, which is in the time of trouble. Continuing, it says, "And who is he that will harm you if ye be followers of that which is good? And if ye suffer for righteousness' sake, happy are ye, and be not afraid of their terror, neither be troubled." So we're not troubled. We understand, being in this ministry, when we go down the highway in the Bible, we have a whole lot of signs saying that, declaring ourselves as the Hebrew Israelites, that the Bible speaks of, that there are many people that are against it, including the people who are over there in our land, pretending to be the chosen people of the Lord Yahweh Shemashai, and there's no clear evidence in the scriptures, that shows that they are, but it does show that we are, pursuant to Deuteronomy 28 and many other scriptures, declaring, who the wicked is on this earth and who the righteous are. So we understand that, there's going to be trouble coming to us. Very well, there's going to be some of us that's going to be in these facilities, looking at poor sanitation, experiencing poor sanitation, probably going to be sick with TB and whoever, Yahweh Shemashai knows what else, and, our faith is going to be tested, we're going to be in a really bad situation, some of us, and, we have to endure. It says, "But sanctify the Lord power in your hearts, and be ready to always give an answer to every man that asketh your reason of the hope that is in you with meekness and fear." So why is it that we are hopeful? Because we've been told that we'll be delivered. And there's always a reward at the work that we do. We're not doing this in vain. Nobody might watch. People might hung their horn. They might take pictures of you when they're driving by. We become a staple, or basically a scene on the highways and byways here of America. When we dress up in the robe and we stand out there, speaking boldly against this wickedness. But, we're awake. Everyone else is asleep. They like to be distracted, and, they're enjoying basically what Babylon America has to offer right now, as this place is in a steady decline. Continuing, it says, this is Zephaniah 2 and 3. It reads, seek ye the Lord Yahweh Shemashah, ye meek of the earth, which have wrought his judgment. Seek righteousness, seek meekness. It may be ye shall be hid in the day of the Lord's Yahweh Shemashah anger. So the judgment has to come. Great Babylon America has to go through plagues and suffering, and so does the children of Israel, including even the elect, has to go through suffering. What does it say? Rough the paraphrasing. Through many tribulations, you'll enter into the kingdom of heaven. Okay, so this ain't gonna be no easy road for any of us. Okay, let's go into Isaiah 30 and start verse 8, because we can't make it more plainer than what we've been making it. Okay, we can't make it any more plainer, Jake. It reads, now go write it before them in a table and note it in a book, that it may be for a time to come, forever and ever, that this is rebellious people, lying children, and children that will not hear the law of the Lord Yahweh Shemashah, will say to the seer, see not, and to the prophets, prophesy not unto us right things, speak unto us smooth things, prophesy deceit. If you weren't embedded in this truth, you would believe everything was okay. The sun's still shining, people are still driving around, they're having a ball. They don't seem to have any care in the world, man. As I said, these Latinos and Hispanic, they're so proud. Bad Bunny was on stage, yeah, and they're getting notice. Of course, you got the darker skinned Jakes, the so-called Negroes. Every year it's Black History Month, and they get this Hamite Obama as the pinnacle, okay, of Jake's achievement. Which is just so laughable, okay, that freaking doggone, whatever, man. It says, get ye out of the way, turn aside of the path, cause the Holy One of Israel to cease from before us. So they don't want to hear that the Lord Yahweh Shemashah, okay, brings judgment, bring death to kids, babies, men, women, children, old, young, you don't care, okay? He doesn't have to answer to anybody. So they don't want to hear that, they like what a so-called white man says, okay, just be good, do good to people, like everybody, and you're all good, sweet, loving Jesus is going to save you. Okay. It says, wherefore, thus said the Holy One of Israel, because ye despise his word, and trust in oppression and perversion, and stay thereon, therefore this iniquity should be to you as a breach ready to fall, swelling out in a high wall, whose breaking cometh suddenly at an instant. Yeah. I bet you Jason didn't see it when they was getting grabbed up, right? They came across the border, and then Jason's been over here for 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years, again, putting these internment camps. And this is not an exaggeration. There is, you saw in the video, mouse, dirty toilets, pestilence, all kinds of disease and stuff is rampant in these detention centers. And that's right now while society is good. Imagine, when these Edomites, rise up and these cities are getting burned down and things really go south. There ain't gonna be no news camera that's gonna go inside to go film this, a news reporter going to go talk about this. There ain't gonna be none of that. You can't even begin to, and that's why I made an AI clip to show you what level, okay, of your there ain't gonna be no comfort. It's gonna be so extreme, okay? Just like how we were brought over here in those ships, and many of us died on the way here, only to be reborn into captivity, and serve with our judgment. A lot of Jakes are not going to survive in those in detention camps. They're not, okay? They're not, okay? We pray to the Lord Yahweh Shemashah that any of us, any of the brothers, sisters, get put into those that, the Lord looks over them, get them out of there one way or the other, okay? But it's going to be a bad case, Jake, okay? This is 2nd Ezra 16, verse 21. It reads, behold, rituals should be so good cheap upon earth, that they shall think themselves to be in good case, and even then shall evil grows upon earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. Okay? So yeah, you can eat, and I look around my neighbors, and a lot of the Jakes around here, and I'm talking about the so-called Latinos and Hispanics that are around here, they've done well for themselves, and they show it, and they think it's all good. For them, success in life is, that Esau put one of them on a stage, to go gyrate and whatever, sing some bullshit, and of course we seen the so-called Negroes always up there. I think last year they did it with who? I can't remember because I don't watch the Super Bowl. It don't matter to me. But at the end of the day, this is how Jakes and them are being fooled and played. But the Watchmen, okay, we're on duty, and our job is to report what we see, okay? And whether you hear or forbear, it's up to you. But this is always, when we go into Revelation 2 and 10, this is always comforting to us, because this is really directly, pointing out to the elect. Okay, it says, fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil, which is Esau, the Edomite, so-called white man, shall cast some of you into prison, and that you may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. So, yeah, you're going to be suffering. If you already have back pain, sciatica, knee pain, and all kinds of other health issues, well, imagine how that's going to be when you're sitting in one of these rat-infested places, and the puke and death all around you. It's just going to be a nightmare. And how shall I say, man, suffer that. I got something for you at the end of it. Even if you die, okay? Just don't give in to Esau, okay? So you Jakes out there, we're not going to be out on the highway and the byway warning you all the time. It ain't going to be forever. These videos are not forever, okay? Sooner or later, it's all going to get shut down, and that famine of the word is going to come. And you're going to wish you had listened. But that's okay. All right, this has been The Watchman, Moat. Let the close break of all glory and honor to Yahweh, Bashim Ashai, Bashim Rakakadash, Shalom.